Um, Imagine an ancient burial cloth that baffles scientists so deeply that, well, just to recreate the image on it today, you would need an impossible instantaneous laser burst of 34 terawatts.
Yeah, which is more power than every single UV light source on Earth combined.
Right. Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm sitting down with our expert to look at a stack of sources that blend high-energy physics, forensic pathology, and statistical textual analytics to examine the Shroud of Turin.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. And yeah, our mission today is to explore how modern science evaluates the resurrection, not as, an abstract belief, but as a forensic macro-quantum phase shift.
Essentially, a biological body rapidly transitioning into a completely different energetic state.
Exactly. And to understand why physicists are even theorizing those kinds of massive numbers, we really have to look at the specific physical properties of the cloth itself.
Because the image on the shroud isn't painted on.
Right. No, not at all. It sits perfectly on the very surface of the linen fibers. I mean, you would need that 34 terawatt burst to scorch the fibers just 200 nanometers deep in a fraction of a second.
Wow, just 200 nanometers.
Yeah, and doing that without burning the rest of the thread.
Which implies a highly directional, controlled energy release. Plus, the image also contains encoded 3D topographic data, like the density of the scorch marks varies inversely with how far the cloth was resting from the body.
Right, but a 2025 discovery by an oral surgeon named Dr. John Sodasanti took this a massive step further.
Oh, the dental discovery, yeah.
Yeah, using high-resolution negatives of the shroud, he identified the subject's lower teeth, what dentists call the mandibular incisal plane, visible right through the closed lips.
Wait, really? So the image shows teeth through the skin?
Through the skin, yes.
Whatever created this acted like an internal X-ray. It basically rendered the biological body mechanically transparent.
The mechanical transparency model suggests exactly that. The radiation originated from within the body, projecting outward, while the physical tissue itself temporarily ceased to be opaque.
So reading through the cloth collapse theory in our sources, the best way I can picture this is, well, like an ancient piece of photographic film falling through a rapidly dematerializing three-dimensional flashbulb.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
The body is the flashbulb becoming immaterial, and gravity just pulls the cloth right through it as the burst exposes the image on the inside.
And if a localized, intense radiation burst of that magnitude actually happened, well, it neatly solves the biggest historical roadblock regarding the shroud.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there, because the 1988 carbon-14 dating definitively said the cloth was a medieval forgery. You can't just brush off a global scientific consensus by claiming, a radiation burst messed up the test. How does that physically work?
It comes down to a process called neutron activation. A massive transphysical energy release would emit a huge flux of thermal neutrons.
Okay, thermal neutrons.
Right. And when those neutrons bombard a nitrogen-rich environment like linen, they interact to create brand new artificial carbon-14 inside the fabric.
Oh, I see. Which completely skews the isotopic ratio.
Exactly. It artificially alters the atomic clock of the material, making a first-century cloth appear centuries younger.
So the radiocarbon test accurately measured the carbon, but the carbon itself was contaminated by the event.
Precisely. Which is why newer tests bypass carbon entirely. Wide-angle X-ray scattering, or WAXS, measures cellulose degradation instead.
How did that work, briefly?
Think of linen fibers like a microscopic spine that slowly breaks down over time. By measuring the exact angle of X-rays scattering off those fibers, scientists can calculate how degraded and therefore how old the thread is.
And what do they find?
Those WAXS tests match the shroud's aging profile perfectly to a securely dated first-century linen sample from 55 to 74 AD.
That is wild. So if the physical cloth shows evidence of a massive localized radiation burst, do the historical texts from that era describe anything that matches a nuclear event?
They actually do. The sources run over 34,000 biblical verses through a statistical protocol called Shield 14.0.
And what did that protocol turn up?
It found a 1 in 13 trillion mathematical link, showing that ancient accounts of divine encounters actually describe the clinical symptoms of radiation exposure.
The Bochum continuum.
Yes, the research terms it the Bochum continuum.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means the texts act like a dosimetric gradient. The closer a person was to a reported transphysical event, the more severe their physical symptoms were.
Like what kind of symptoms?
Things like mass weeping, facial radiance, sudden systemic collapse, or even corneal destruction. It scales perfectly with proximity, mirroring the inverse square law of electromagnetism.
So whether you approach this from a theological angle or a strictly forensic one, the data forces you to confront a wild idea.
It really does.
Why should you, our listener, care? Well, this deep dive shatters the wall between empirical physics and historical texts. It reveals that they might just be distinct languages describing the exact same energetic phenomena.
Yeah, when you look at the shroud as the thermodynamic exhaust of a biological form shifting into a transphysical state, I mean, it changes the entire paradigm of what matter is capable of.
Absolutely. We will leave you with this to ponder.
Yeah.
If the shroud is literally the physical residue of a body rapidly transitioning into pure energy acting as that 34 terawatt flashbulb, what does that imply about the latent energetic potential hidden inside the human genome today?
That is quite the question to end on.
Think about that the next time you see a camera